Hey guys, how you going?
Okay, we are going live. And we've been hearing so much about what's happening there down under with all of you in Australia, and so many voices have been speaking out about the atrocities there. So we really wanted to invite all of you to come onto our platform, some of you that are really in the trenches there, to give us a firsthand of what's going on and also what people can do to support you. We're sending prayers and all of that, but I think that you're sort of a model for what's really happening in the world and where we're going if we don't start to stand up and make some change and speak out and not consent. So, Sasha, I'm going to hand it over to you to welcome our guests, Renee and Fanos, two of the many voices that are speaking out. Renee on the Gold Coast, Fanos in the police state of Victoria. So we'll let you guys share with us what's really going on there.
Hi, Renee, Fanos, good to meet you guys. Thank you, Imani. So let's jump in. Lockdown, curfew, closed borders, police checkpoints, work permits, drone surveillance, chopper patrols, 23-hour confinement, 1-hour exercise, mandatory medical procedures, banned travel, food rationing, closed churches, denied sunshine, school closures, masks allocated, shopping times, government access to homes without a warrant, no wedding celebrations, no gatherings, decimated economy, limited attendees at funerals, business closures, no family visits, movement banned beyond 5-kilometer range, military patrols, government removal of children, indefinite restrictions, censorship across all social media, mass suicides, bankruptcies, 1 million unemployed, massive increase in domestic violence, and more. I'm going to use blunt language. What the fuck is going on in Australia? That is called treason, people. Treason. Look the word up. Treason. It is punishable by death. It always has been. This is the time, friends, Antipodeans. This is the time. There is not going to be another time unless we shake this down. Fanos, Renee, welcome. Let's speak very bluntly and very boldly. Let's not couch our language in this broadcast because we've all been couching a sensitive language, paying attention to our syntax and to our deep desire to express the fire of rage that's in our bellies at what is going on to our brothers and sisters. You guys live in Australia. It's happening to you. You are the sacrificial harvest. Speak to us. Fanos, please begin.
Well, Sasha, the way you rounded that up, it doesn't feel as bad as it was until you expressed the whole shopping list of how bad it really is. It feels like we're in a movie. It doesn't even feel real. I wake up every day and I still can't believe that, though I'm meeting all of these amazing people online and really connecting with people, I can't believe that we are living in a country where our rights are being stripped away to the point that we're almost like we're on house arrest as criminals, and the people are still attacking people such as myself who are speaking out against the tyranny. People are scared to go outside without a mask on. You see people that are exercising, running with a mask on. You go to a shop to take something off a shelf, and I got harassed the other day in the shopping center because I didn't have a mask on inside the shop. I've seen police harass, females with babies in a pram at a protest. I've been arrested for, saying a Bible verse at a protest, right? After all I was speaking about was love and peace, right? It's horrendous, and it's concerning, and it's actually quite scary that we're at that stage and people are still advocating what the government's doing and not questioning anything. And it's just lie after lie after lie. Like, Sasha, we found out very recently, and Renee, I don't know if you've heard this or not, you would have, our health minister, our chief health officer or health minister in our state in Victoria said that they were using numbers from palliative care as COVID death statistics.
Yes.
And I thought, on what planet is that moral and ethical whatsoever?
Well, just stop there, Fanos. Right there, that is called fraud. And right there, that is institutional fraud, meaning to say it's being sanctioned and promulgated by the government. The government is committing the fraud against the people. Now, anyone with a pulse and with an IQ above 12, above the IQ of an apricot, knows full well that this is all orchestration. But that right there is fraud. So why is it that people who are losing their elderly, infirm, and aged parents in nursing homes, unable to embrace them as they depart this world after 75, 85 years, what is it in the Australian blood that is lacking right now? Why are people not able to become enraged by this travesty that is taking place? Just that piece about keeping elderly and infirm people away from the embrace of their families. Just that piece of goddamn insanity. What is it in the Australians? I've been looking at this. I've been speaking to people, social ecologists, people to try and understand what is it. And the general feedback I'm getting is, well, the Australians, like the Canadians, have had it too good for far too long. So there's kind of like a cultural comfort zone that has become almost a dissonance, a cultural intellectual dissonance, where you don't rock the boat because rocking the boat isn't even built in to the zeitgeist as a possibility. It's always going to be blue skies in Australia. It's always going to be sun and surf. It's always going to be enough food and plenty for the people. So do you guys think, and I'm going to put this to Renee, as well as invite your opening comments, but do you think it's that kind of cultural comfort zone that has moved into a default right now?
Absolutely, Sasha. So first I want to say thank you so much for initiating this conversation, which is really important right now. Look, I decided to reach out to you because what I have been watching is an abhorrent abuse of power from our head of state. The Victoria Premier, Daniel Andrews, is essentially behaving like a dictator right now. And I would even say there's cognitive dissonance within society, and I would suggest it goes further than what you have suggested with how relaxed our society is. I come from a background of activism where, you know, I kind of went through an awakening in early 2016 when I became vegan, with all the lies in government for animal agriculture and all the lies that we're fed with that aspect. And I am seeing leaders within my community, which is a movement of disclosure and awakening, the vegan movement is, completely obeying these draconian restrictions from the government, completely believing everything, living in fear. But not only that, I'm looking at vegan leaders who are spiritual life coaches that are actually abusing people, calling them selfish and arrogant conspiracy theories for even questioning the narrative from the government. Every single day I am in shock with what's happening in Australia, and there are people applauding Dan Andrews, our Premier in Victoria, saying he's doing an amazing job. He must be exhausted, and thank you for everything you're doing. They're essentially saying, thank you for locking us up. Thank you for taking away our freedoms, and do whatever the hell you like because we're going to obey. It's insanity.
So, I mean, what part of what I read out at the beginning doesn't sound like the goddamn Gestapo? It doesn't sound like Nazi Germany. What I read out was a whole lot worse than was introduced in Nazi Germany in the first couple of years of the war.
Yeah.
A lot worse. This is so sophisticated. This is spooky. This is creepy. Not as creepy as the liberal intellectuals that you just described to me, because that lot are the most toxic element of society right now, because that liberal intellectual class is what props up the evil. It props up the wickedness of the bureaucracy and the technocracy. Don't ask me why. I've not yet divined what the reason is, but I found the same thing in Manhattan and in Hollywood, in America. On the flanking middle America, for me, is the pulse of the good, I'd say Christian because it's essentially Christian, but the pulse of middle America is the most beautiful, grounded, patriotic, just beautiful soul. And then on the east and west coast, you've got this liberal intellectual class that are utterly perverse intellectually. They think that turning little boys into little girls is a good thing. They are utterly perverse. They think that social engineering, Fabianism, all of this stuff is acceptable. They think that putting 40,000 satellites in the sky, Elon Musk, great going there, guy, you know, Mr. Proxy for the Rockefellers and Rothschilds. They think that that kind of thing is achievement. They've got no sentience or organic spark left, the people that you just described to me. So look at leadership in Australia as being what it is. I'm going to use the word satanic in the truest context of the word. Go and 100%. Study what satanic actually means. Saturnian, satanic, Luciferian, false light, the idolatry, false light worship. That's all the language that we're seeing here in the echelon that is leading Australia into the bowels of hell right now. And people, there's things going on underground with the deep underground military bases. There's other storylines happening in Australia that are connected to how that country has been incredibly weaponized by the Vatican and Anglo-American complex. I'm talking about the Rouge factions within the CIA and so on, and the Crown of England. But Australia has been weaponized for at least 75 to 100 years. And whilst people were allowed to amble around on the surface, again, surfing and just enjoying a kind of pedestrian, comfortable, middle-class suburban existence, actually the country was being set up in the same way that Canada was being set up. Five Eyes, okay, is a transnational compact of intelligence agencies that is connected to 5 countries. Australia is one of them. New Zealand is another. Canada is another. England is another. And America is another. Why do you think, I'm talking to the audience here, why do you think it is that those 5 nations are the most right now that are in the grip or the thrall of this new world order, or this attempt to roll out the new world order? Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, United Kingdom, and America. America is being somewhat retrieved by the Trump administration with the cleaning of the swamp and all of that stuff. And look how the liberal intellectuals are shrieking about that, and their satanic media that they control through the Associated Press, Agence France Presse, Reuters networks. But Australia is very much in the grip of that culture. And I think that's the piece that people in Australia are going to have to wake up to. But it's going to take folks like you, Fanos and Renee, and God knows how you do it. I don't know, because I appreciate that you can't walk out of your front door with a billboard without getting arrested 20 minutes later, being snitched on by your neighbors, or some police pull up in a patrol car. So how you guys go about orchestrating some kind of kickback to this tyranny, that's what I want to drill into for the next 10, 15 minutes. So Fanos, let me hand that to you. Plans. What plans do you have, or should we be discussing this open source right now with the audience?
So the plans I've had is, using the media, the social media platform as much as possible to be able to open the eyes of the people. Because I have a lot of people ask me, well, what are you doing? And the more exposure and the more reach I create within myself on a social media platform, the more message gets through. And I think one of the most important things at the moment is don't take your foot off the gas and keep putting out information. So slowly, you can have 1% wake up and another 1% wake up. And, as much as, I love coordinating movements and, doing protests or whatever else, that's actually a risk to my health and well-being and my actual liberties in this country right now. I can be arrested for doing that very, very soon,
Okay, but 500 of you or 300 of you or 150 of you technically can't be arrested. So what are the chances of mobilizing and getting 1,000 people on the streets and all live streaming on what social media is left to you, bearing in mind that voices of truth and disclosure are being immediately censored and boycotted by Facebook and the rest of them. So is there any point in trying to mobilize? And the reason why I'm saying this is simple. I'm not in Australia. I couldn't give a fuck about your government. I think it's a satanic construct. At A to Z, I think it is absolutely Saturnian. When I see your prime minister, that weasel of a human being, that looks like some sadistic geography teacher who stumbled out of a boarding school somewhere. What is that man doing in office? Who the hell put that troglodyte into power? That for me is something I will never, ever understand. He represents the most vapid, deviant, bureaucratic, salamander class of human being you could ever imagine. And yet he is the prime minister of one of the most important geostrategic nations on the face of the earth. Something has gone very, very wrong with the social and political ecology in Australia. But do you think, Renee, that there is any possibility of mobilizing more than 300 people at a time to do anything?
Yeah, so the issue with protesting is a tricky one because there have been protesters that have attempted to do it in the past and they were raided by police. Their computers, laptops, and phones were all taken and they were arrested and charged with incitement for that. Myself personally, I come from an activist background. I've spent the last 4 years being an animal rights activist. I've worked with police in organising public assemblies. So this is tricky because we can't work with police. It's tricky because when you organise it online, because we no longer have free speech, you know, it gets taken down and we're having the organisers' houses raided. There is an attempt for a nationwide protest on the 5th of September. I believe it will go ahead. All of my friends and everyone I know will be there. It's going to be in all the major capital cities. But I think also Fanos might be able to shed some light on that. But it's definitely time. We're at a fork in the road now where Australians need to stop sitting on their hands. We need to stand up, we need to speak out, and we need to let it be known that we're not going to tolerate this anymore. This is tyranny. And I don't understand how anyone cannot see that this is not about a virus. Well, this is about global control, but more than that, it's about compliance. And yes, we need to change right now.
Well, let's talk about the power of 10. I mean, to mobilize, it seems to me that get 10 good people that you trust, that you love, and that you trust. That's not a lot. 10 good people. Go for a sacred number. Go for a divine number. Go for 9. Get 9 good people in your ecosystem that you love and trust, and that love and trust you, and get those 9 people to each assemble 9 people, and get those 9 people to assemble 9 people. I think within 3 or 4 assemblies of that, you'll have 50% of the Australian population. So again, the power of consciousness in action, of love, application of consciousness in action, I think is the thing that's going to win the day. And I think that truly is the art of mobilization, not just throwing it out into social media, which is really throwing enough shit at the wall and hoping that some of it will stick, which it does, but it slides down and then it's gone. And that is not mobilization. This is sophisticated stuff. The tyranny and the totalitarianism that is being spat in the face of Australians right now is something that has had 5 generations of planning, okay? It's very crafty, stealthy stuff. You people have been mind-fucked through poisons in the food, poisons in the water, poisons in the air, okay? In the first instance, everyone is in a state of chemical toxicity, more or less. Okay, there is also a huge dream spell industry taking place through the mainstream media in Australia, with 1 or 2 notable exceptions. I'm really impressed by a couple of the long-standing anchormen, especially on Sky, who are just magnificent. And then you've got world-class hardcore activists in Australia, people like Paul Sales and Santos Bonacci and